My name is Dimitris Tsouroplis. I'm originally Greek. I have the dual citizenship after many years living in the UK. I also got the British citizenship. I work in human resources for more than 20 years, and currently I'm heading the HR role for Crescent Group, and especially for Crescent Petroleum, which is an oil and gas company mainly focusing on gas in the Iraq Kurdistan area.
Thank you. And why did you decide to study at the University of Aberdeen, and why particularly business management?
So, one of my during my university years, we had those career fairs. And I remember someone who came over to talk to us, and he was at that time working for Mobil. But Mobil has been the part of the, I think the oil part of Mobil has been merged with BP at the time. So he was talking about the oil and gas industry. So I was fascinated. And I really enjoyed what he was talking about. And then I said, like, okay, if I want to work in the oil and gas. Of course, Greece is not a country of production of oil and gas. So where is the next stop for me to see like that career path? So Aberdeen was the capital of oil and gas, oil mainly at that time, back in the mid-90s. So I applied, I got accepted, and I started my trip outside my country for first time to a cold, kind of dark Aberdeen, which apparently was for me the light for my career. And I moved there. I did my master's. It was just an amazing university. The campus, the people, the facilities, everything. It was like a city of studency. And then I applied for an internship in BP in DICE, BP Exploration. It was the biggest part of BP, more than 10,000 employees, oil rigs in the North Sea. It was amazing for me. It was just a different world. And I was accepted for a 3 months internship. And I wasn't thinking at the time that I would like to pursue an HR career. I just wanted to see oil and gas. But of course, HR was part of my master's and also of my part of the courses I took in the university. And it was fascinating. And the project I got into at the time was a major re-outsourcing. So they have outsourced IT support and services in BP, and they wanted to take part of the outsourced services to outsource it further to another company. Major, hundreds and hundreds of people impacted, and this was the beginning for me to understand how BP works, what is the depth, the breadth and the size of BP, and the project of something that is starting with HR kind of outsourcing. So that was my beginning.
Very interesting. And could you please tell us a little bit more about how also Vodafone shaped your leadership style?
So I can tell you, I mean, leadership style. I don't know if I have a leadership style or I'm still looking at the best leadership style. Leadership is very important to me as an HR. So I would say that I've been through certain companies, and I've mainly experienced different leadership styles by several managers, directors I worked with, and CEOs. That definitely shaped things in me based on the styles I experienced, what I want to do and what I don't want to do. So from the good experiences I took the most out of, and I said I would like to copy that style. And from those experiences that were less good, let's say in a polite way, I took like what I shouldn't do when I become at the level that I should also manage people. So I would say BP was my first big stop in my career, because that was a huge company with years of in the market, with systems, with absolutely the best start for me. And then I moved slightly to Vodafone for 2 years, but then I moved to the Coca-Cola company. And the Coca-Cola company, another huge company with more than 120 years of presence in the market, completely different. FMCG versus the traditional oil and gas, more modern, different systems. It gives you completely different aspects. So I would say those two companies really shaped me to understand how I would like to move on in my career. I didn't make any sudden moves. Like I didn't want to go to the HR manager position quite soon in my career, though there were some opportunities. I wanted to go through all the steps of HR. And then moving to Vodafone is where I started having people responsibility. I had a big team, and then I started recognizing and understanding how difficult it is to manage people.
Interesting. And what is your job and responsibilities at the moment? What do you do? How your typical day looks like?
Typical day looks like I think every HR person in this world. You start with a vision of how I should save my day, what should I do better for the company, how the future will be, and then you end up in the office solving issues on a daily basis, going into transactional admin stuff, which this is to be inevitably part of our life, and gives you less time to step back, think, strategize, and do, this is, you have to just compress the time eventually. So this is the everydays people, the open door policy in HR is of an essence. So my door is open, so everybody passes by HR all the time, either to say hi or to complain or to just have a chat. So your day mainly is completely messed up by not doing whatever you started, so you put things for the next day, and again another day comes.
Interesting. And how did your academic and executive development programs at IMD influence the way you approach transformation and value creation in HR?
Well, IMD came, I think, at the right time. It was probably a bit more than 10 years and around in the mid of my career, when Vodafone created this exceptional HR postgraduate program. It was like a master's degree, more than a year in length. And it was specifically customized to boost HR leadership. So it was a program that, once you have worked a bit and then you understand how the market works, what the businesses want, once you are in HR for approximately 10 years at a time, it comes at the right moment that you can absorb the most of what they give you. And I think this was a big milestone for me, because it shifts my thinking about HR, and that was the purpose as well. So it was a leadership purposely built program to create the next HR director for Vodafone. And that was like reprogramming, resetting and reprogramming, and putting forward the mindset of, okay, now how should I become more strategic? I'm moving beyond the administrational stuff and transactional and become more strategic. How do I think how to become a partner of the company rather than being part of it?
Yeah, interesting. And you've led complex M&A integrations and restructuring efforts. What are key success factors when aligning talent strategy with business transformation?
Well, that was a big lesson and a big experience for me. Early in my career, especially at Vodafone, was when I was working in the Greek entity. The company structure globally was to integrate all providers, that they were shops selling mobile phones mainly, and they didn't want to have independent sellers. They wanted to be Vodafone as a seller. So we integrated and we merged with probably 6 companies at the time. We doubled or a bit more, increased the number of employees by 1,000 just within 6 months to 1 year. That was major. A merger and acquisition of that size, especially at the Greek standards, was big. For me, it was a big lesson, because bringing 6 different companies, which means with their own culture, which means they have their own talents, standards, processes, to integrate them, to make them feel part of one unity. It was a journey. And just for your information, if you ever find yourself creating this kind of amalgam of 2 companies, you will feel like there were a lot of times, even after months, that the employees would used to say, oh, we in that company were doing that. So how you break that, the we in that company, that we in this company and become part of, yes, we are all part of this brand and of this community. It was a journey. It was all about HR creating the culture, change management, team building activities, events, employer branding, or even the marketing branding. Helped in throughout the 2 or 3 years, this become one part.
Yeah.
And then you create a unity and then you move on. So that was a big school for me to create a merger. The bad side of the story is how you bring the best and retain the best. So you don't have the luxury to get all the people and keep all the people. Either you don't have the luxury, or of course there is no need to keep all the people. So part of HR is also the other side of restructuring. And restructuring means also layoffs. And this is the big school for me. How you bring new people, you develop them, and how you also make sure you have the right people to grow the company.
So what role does data and technology play in the HR strategies you implement?
Well, I mean, asking me, I would say it's the most important aspect. And say asking me because I am a techie. I started programming at the early age of 15, 16. Back at the time, we had completely different computer languages. For some of those, remember Pascal, COBOL, of course, BASIC and the rest. So I started programming. And then I did my minor in computer science. So I'm someone who lives in technology. And it couldn't be different by applying any new technological kind of tool that I can use to support the efficiency and effectiveness of HR. So today, we come into a world where there is a booming in AI. This couldn't be anywhere far from us. And this is where we heavily invest now. We have, definitely HR is heavily dependent on ERP systems. And of course, I'm not gonna name any brands, but ERP systems are the essence of a company to connect across the business, the processes and governance. And for me, on top of that, any simplifications that happen through the systems, AI comes to support anything that can boost the productivity to the next level. If it used correct, but if people also are educated correct. So, and in my past job, I also had IT under my responsibilities. So I was HR and IT director. I think those two goes hand in hand. You cannot be away from IT, and it helps enormously a company to grow and people to definitely be more efficient and effective.
That's very interesting. And you work across different countries. How do you ensure HR strategies are culturally sensitive yet globally aligned?
Well, this is a tough one. Yes, fortunately, it happened that I really worked across many borders, from the US to Latin America to Europe, of course, in many countries, and then Middle East. Of course, even South Africa was part of my territory when I was with Vodafone. And Middle East with Coca-Cola, but also Middle East now, of course, as my permanent job. And this gave me the responsibility and, of course, the understanding of what cultural differences means. Being part of one society, of one country, which is mainly your acquaintance, your friends, and your colleagues are all from the same culture, doesn't break the stereotypes of grow big, think diversity, not only in gender, which is absolutely the most important part to have diversity in gender, but also in cultures. There is a different thinking. How you embrace that is all about the company culture. So I'll give you an example. In Coca-Cola, when I was working Coca-Cola, beginning of 2000s, the decade of 2000, there was the second war in Iraq. And at that time we had a big office in Bahrain. So with that, and Bahrain was under my territory. We had 20 countries under the division. And I was sent to Bahrain to do a full restructuring of the office because it was really close to the territory of Iraq, and they didn't want to have any risks in the area. So I was sent there for about a month to do a full restructuring of the office and bring about, I think at the time, 90 expats with their families of different cultures to Greece.
Wow.
So to do that, you have to embrace so many things. You have to adjust so many things on the way you deal with things. For example, Bahrain is a country, as in any other Middle East, which is in the Muslim world.
Yes.
They have their traditions. So I wanted to embrace that. I wanted to create a culture that they will feel that they're coming in a place that they feel friendly. So we created the prayer rooms, which is not something common in the Western world, especially in the south part of Europe. So we created prayer rooms. So you have to adjust and you have to respect, and with that you see that people give back. So cultural fit is the most important. Of course, now after so many years, I mean, here 85% we are foreigners. So this is a different cultural mix.
Yeah. Interesting, very interesting. And how do you build leadership pipelines and retain top talent in fast-changing or politically sensitive environments?
Oh, that I should have. That's my question too. How do you build that? Well, in an HR professional, the things that keeps him up at night and probably wakes them up in the morning is this: how you create, how you run the talent management, how you create this pipeline, the bench strength we call of people that are ready and ambitious to grow. First is how you find them, how you attract them, how you hire them, onboard them, and retain them. You need to develop them, you need to provide training, and in a fast-moving era where the youngest generation is really ambitious and really in a pace that they want to learn fast and move on, it's very difficult on how to create those programs to retain them. And that is from the old days. You don't have any concept of hire to retire. In the old days, people were staying in one job, they couldn't see anything else. And all I advise people is see the world. Travel, work in different companies, but I don't advise job hopping because it's not always the best. You change because you want to learn more and you want to grow more, not to change because of the change. And if you run after the money, it's not the right purpose. The purpose would be knowledge. If you like your job, money will come. And if you like your work, you will. If you like your job, you will never work, as we say. So pipeline succession planning is very important. We all work daily on the current people we have to map them in their career path. How far are they from leadership positions, as we call it, from immediately or 3 to 5 years or longer. And if we don't have it, we identify the gaps, and then we scout the market in order to find the top talents to bring them in. Scouting the market for the talents is like fishing in the same pond with every other company. So we're looking at the same people, and then you end up finding them in other companies and bringing them in.
Very interesting. And looking back at your very impressive career, what achievement are you the most proud of?
Well, impressive, I don't know, still learning things. So I would say there are things I'm proud of. It's when I just look back and I have some flashes of people I believe I helped to create a career. For people that they were not aware of their abilities or the capabilities. And then I boost and I gave opportunities where I felt like this is the right person. And this is what makes you feel like, yes, then I understand people. I can see what they have and I can help them grow. And this is something quite, I have it in my memory as the achievement. Other things, which I could call it as HR achievements, but I'm not proud of, are all the restructurings we've done. This is one of the HR's major aspects. It's every HR professional will face a restructurings, and restructurings comes with people layoff. You are called to change someone's life within 15 minutes. You call someone in the office, you just pass the news of the termination, and it's inevitable for the company that wants to grow or they want to change that this will happen. HR is coming to manage it in a certain way on how you do it. And the how is the most important thing. I don't like the old, maybe American ways that they were sending the email and you are terminated. You in the world, or at least in the European world, this is more personal. You need to face people. You need to talk to them, and you need to treat them with dignity and respect. Then my role in most of the times was to design at least a decent indemnity, a decent package of this separation, that people would feel a bit of secure. They will feel well treated in that awful moment in their lives to change it. And then at least they might say, okay, it is a bad moment, but at least somebody took the time, sat with me, spoke with me, and then helped me with a package that can at least give me time to adjust to the new reality and find something new. So if I say this is an achievement because I've done too many restructurings, but I think the most thing is that when I meet people after and they said, oh, I know, I remember you, you fired me, they never had any vindictive style. They were all friendly and said, you did it well though. So it is a part of an achievement in HR, yes, but it's not the things you feel proud of. The only thing is that you say, I hope I will do it the best possible way, at least in that sad moment, to make a difference.
Very interesting. And are there any thought leaders or books or programs that strongly influence your views on modern HR leadership?
Well, I'm still looking at it because we like to create theories. I'm more practical. So there is a book I always like, and I go back to it and I read it again and again. I think it will be rewritten in the future, and it's called Good to Great. It's a research of more than 25 years they've done, and they identified the companies that they did exceptionally well in situations where the whole world was falling apart, and what leadership style each CEO had in order to make that happen. And they created a range of 1 to 5, and 5 is the top leaders, and they put there certain leadership styles that the moment that you see that leader, you don't expect them to have the style, because they're humble, they might be shy, they might be introverts. And out of a sudden they have such a strong courage, they are so rigid, they are so strong, that they definitely develop a different company. And this is a great book for anyone who starts to understand about leadership. And to me, leadership, and as I have some notes, there are 4 types of leadership. The types is, we have the fighters who pull up their sleeves and go into the fight and try to change the things. There are the thinkers who are more visionary. They try to just imagine how to create a better a company or a better world. Then the lovers, as I call it, that they are managing with emotions, empathy, and more of more of the heart, from the heart. And the last are the rebels, everyone who wants to go in and change things and make things different. So I think each leader has at least 1 and can go up to 2 of those elements. So it's how you create that part of leadership at the right moment for the company. So I've seen leaders who have the right elements, but they applied it in the wrong time and they miserably fail. Or they have the right things in the right time and the company booms. I cannot say some leaders because I might forget some people, but I always liked in HR, and this is something that you can also copy. I liked Warren Buffett when they asked him, what kind of people are you hiring? And he said, listen, I can tell you what kind of characteristics I want those people to have. I want them to have 3 things only: integrity, intelligence, and energy. And you will be unlucky if any of those 3 is missing. So this definitely encloses everything that somebody needs to have. If you have a good level of understanding and cognition, if you have high integrity, which is really important, and you have the passion and the energy, you have the recipe for success. If anything is missing, you have a full recipe of failure for the business. So I think there are so many leaders in this world that you can copy and you can understand things. But I would like to stay to this only side.
And what's your advice for students how to use networking in the best way to benefit themselves? Or do you think it's even important or not?
Networking is the most important. Because this is how I started my career. This is how I found my job. I just made a call to someone I never knew, and I said, I'm a student in Aberdeen, and I would like to have my internship, and I would like to get your advice. Is that any possibility? And then he connected me with two other people, and immediately things happen. Unless you make the move, nobody will give you the space. So I would say networking is the most important. In the era where social media is just booming and inundate our daily routine, it's the most important to use it correctly. And of course LinkedIn is one of the tools and platforms we use just to network professionally. I think the right people will always find the right ways to just introduce themselves and get them noticed so they can start their career. The most important thing is how you start your career. And the internship is a very good way to do so. And then from there, I mean, even Robert De Niro in the movie Intern found a job to make himself useful even after retirement for doing small things. My advice is to try to network socially, not only through the platforms, but also in events. Try to go to events. A good approach was what you've done. A very good approach is just to say, let's talk. And despite that, this week is very busy, I said like this is a great opportunity to talk to someone. And beyond that, it takes some persistence. People might want reply. It takes some persistence to the point that you're not becoming annoying. But to the point that you're always respectful and you just try to reach your end goal. So keep going. It's good to network, it's good to move on. I think the last part is, apart from the IQ, which is important, then you have the EQ, the emotional part. Now you need to have the social element. So everything will build up to support in the future.
And the last question is, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Well, to my younger self, I might say, I would say move with more determination and courage in cases, and don't hesitate. I took risks. I took a lot of risks. I've made my choices. I've moved around. I left the safety net of Greece, and I went to places that I wouldn't imagine before. And I would say sometimes be more strong.